Hello friends, in this machine learning interview question series by Knowledge Powerhouse, we have our next question. Question is, what are the main uses of supervised learning? So supervised machine learning is another big branch of machine learning. So one part is unsupervised, then we have supervised, and then we have reinforcement learning or neural networks. So in supervised machine learning, let's see what are the main uses. So in supervised machine learning, first uses classification, which is more towards like determining to which class a specific data belongs to, right? So if we have a lot of features in the data, and in your initial data set you already have labels, like like this training data set says that this record belongs to this class, this record belongs to this class. Now in your test or in production environment you have another data set coming. Now you want to determine what is the class it is coming out of, right? So that can be done using supervised learning classification. For example, if you have some kind of like transactions that are happening, and now some of those transactions can be fraudulent transactions. So you want to determine which are fraudulent ones, right? So you can find it out based on the classification. Whereas another example, like this is like more like an anomaly kind of a behavior, but in general, like there is another generic example where you have different kind of market segments. So market segments are like those who are early adopters, those who are laggards. So you want to determine who are these our customers, so you can train your model to find this thing. That way they can predict to which class this person belongs to. And then whenever we talk about classification, clustering also is discussed. So clustering is a unsupervised machine learning technique. So remember, clustering is unsupervised and classification is supervised. So the difference between classification and clustering are like this. In classification, you need to have prior knowledge of classes. Like you need to know in your data that whether this thing belongs to this class or not, and based on that you can predict for the new data which class it belongs to. Whereas in clustering, you don't need to have prior knowledge of classes. You just have raw data and you are determining things. So the use case of classification is to classify a new data into known classes. So you already know known classes. You have to predict whether your new data belongs to which class. Whereas in clustering, the use case is to determine classes, to determine the groups based on the patterns in data. It can determine what kind of clusters are appearing. And classification uses algorithms like decision trees is very popular, Bayesian classifiers, even random forest can be used for classification, logistic regression can be used. And for clustering, we use k-means clustering, expectation, maximization. So these kind of techniques we use for clustering. And in classification, we need to have data that has labels. Labels means you initially know what exactly is the class of this specific record, right? So if you give a data of fruits with labels like this is apple, this is orange, this is a banana, this is watermelon, then for the other further data like that you get where you don't have the labels, you can determine based on classification model. Whereas clustering doesn't need the labeled thing, so it will give you unlabeled samples. So if you see if you have used Google Photos, then if you upload your pictures and then it starts showing you some related pictures when you go to search for, it doesn't know the names of the persons, but it can determine like this person is appearing in many pictures, and it can say, oh, this is the face, you can search by this face, right? It doesn't know the name of that person. So that kind of unlabeled sample can be given to clustering for determining the suggested groups. Another use of supervised learning is in machine speech recognition. So nowadays, when you speak and it needs to determine what is the text in it, what do you mean by it? So that thing can be understood by computers by using speech recognition models, and these two speech recognition models use supervised learning because they attribute your speech, right, to what you mean to say, and then from that they can determine what word you were trying to speak. So it can also be used for translating speech to text as well as translating text from one language to another language. So all these are examples of supervised learning. Next, we have regression. So we have linear regression or logistic regression. In this, we can determine the value of a dependent variable based on the values of independent variable. So if you remember the example of house price, if you want to determine the price of a house, so the price of house is a dependent variable. And the square feet of the house or age of the house is independent variable, right? So using those variables, you can determine what is the price of the house by a regression model. So you can use a regression model to determine that. And regression models are supervised learning. Then in marketing also, we have a lot of use of supervised machine learning. In marketing, we want to find the pricing strategy. We want to see what price we should bring up, or we want to calculate the lifetime value of a customer. Like, so all these kind of things can be done using supervised machine learning. All right, that's all on the uses of supervised machine learning. If you have other questions, then do let us know in comments. And there are many more videos in this series, so do watch all of them to know and get prepared for your interview and for your general knowledge. That will be really helpful in your career. Thank you and have a great day.